With meditation, what you learn to do is to take your mind off those negative thoughts and put them onto something neutral, like your breath. And then for the first time, you start to recognize, oh, I don't need to be thinking those. The meditation teaches you to be a connoisseur of the things that are important to you and the things that are distracting, and teaches you a very simple paradigm that you use to let go of those distractions. You can start from a very young age. And you can really teach meditation at any age. We have a set of meditations in our meditation studio app called Good Night Kiddo that are specifically to help young kids fall asleep with meditation.
And that is coming up next on Bootstrapping Your Dreams show, so stay tuned. So, the big question is this: how are ambitious people like us, who don't have a lot of resources, did not go to Ivy League colleges, were not born into wealth, how do we become resourceful enough, use our creativity, our dedication, and a little bit of crazy to bootstrap our way to realizing our dreams? Whether it is launching a new company, launching a new app, or making it to the top of the corporate ladder, that is the question. And this podcast will give you the answers. We have created a tremendous community of bootstrappers, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are ambitious, resourceful, and want to get things done. We brainstorm, support, and help each other out. So come join us. Navigate to bootstrapping.group, join today, and get the Startup Founders Technology Accelerator video series absolutely free. If you enjoy this video, then do let us know by hitting that like button now. Or if you want us to improve our content, then go ahead and hit that thumbs down button and give us your honest feedback in the comment section below. Here at Noodle, we are passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. Every week, we bring you insightful and engaging videos, interviews, tips, tricks, and strategies to help you grow your business or rise in your corporate profession. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing, and do not forget to hit that bell icon so that you are notified when we publish new content. Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. I'm your host Manuj Aggarwal, and today we'll be talking with Ariel Garten, who's a neuroscientist, psychotherapist, mom, and a female founder and visionary of an amazing and highly successful tech startup, Muse. It is a device that reads brains and lets people control the lights on Niagara Falls with a brain from across the country. That's amazing. We'll talk about that. She helps people overcome mental issues and improve their physical and emotional state to become a better version of themselves. Welcome, Ariel.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your entrepreneurial journey, and how did you get into meditation? I'm myself very fascinated with that topic. So let's get to know yourself, get to know you, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I think my entrepreneurial journey started at 5 years old with a lemonade stand. My parents were both entrepreneurs. My mom was an artist, so she, always did her own thing. And my dad he would renovate houses with his own hands. So we always just assumed that you worked for yourself. It seemed crazy to work for anybody else. And I was always very motivated to understand what was going on in the mind. And so I studied neuroscience. And I was also very motivated to figure out how we could do things that make the world a better place. So I started, my entrepreneurial journey took me through fashion. I was a clothing designer. I was a psychotherapist in private practice. That was my first way to merge an understanding of the mind with trying to help people understand their own minds and improve them. And then I began working with an early brain-computer interface system with Dr. Steve Mann. He's one of the inventors of the wearable computer. And we started to actually create concerts where people could make music with their mind. So we would have an EEG electrode that we'd put on somebody's head. And by shifting their brain state, by focusing or relaxing, we could actually let them control the sound that was in the room. And I kind of stood back and said, oh my God, this is crazy. We're literally letting people interact with technology directly with their brain. And I recognized that this could be taken out of the lab and I could see actually commercializing it. So I got together with Chris Amony, who is an amazing electrical engineer, and Trevor Coleman, who was a friend of mine who was very entrepreneurial. And the three of us formed what ultimately became the company Muse. And we started by trying to create technology where you could control stuff with your mind, which is where we did the Olympics project, letting people control the lights in the CN Tower, Niagara Falls, and the Parliament buildings with their brain from across the country at the Vancouver 2010 Winter Olympics. And we moved from recognizing that the best use of this technology was not to control stuff outside of yourself, but that we had, the ability with this technology to actually let you understand your own mind. And as we were teaching people to focus, to relax, to shift brain state in order to control a light bulb or to change the sound in a room, we were actually teaching people this incredibly important skill, which was focusing and relaxing. And that in many ways, what we were teaching people to do was some of the basic tenets of meditation. And as we sort of stood back and looked at this whole picture, the technology that we had, what we'd actually been able to teach people, what they'd learned from it, the power of it, we recognized that if we really wanted to make an impact in the world, the best thing that we could do was use this technology to teach people how to meditate. And that's what we do with Muse.
Awesome, that's great. So, so many questions come to mind. So, tell me, first of all, uh, were you already sort of aware of the benefits of meditation? How did it come about, or did you start meditating as you were developing the product?
So I was always fascinated by meditation. And as a psychotherapist in private practice, I would, of course, teach my patients to meditate, my clients. And I'd teach them to meditate in our sessions. They'd go home, they'd try to do it. I would go home and I would try to do it. But as somebody who was also an entrepreneur, my brain was always bouncing all over the place. I had a million ideas simultaneously. The thought of quieting my own mind seemed both impossible and unappealing because I thought, like, I need all these thoughts. They're serving me. They're serving me. And it wasn't until we began building Muse that I was actually able to use the tool to become an effective meditator myself. So, I knew all of the benefits of meditation. I knew if I could only get that mind that never wanted to quiet, I would see all the changes that we see in research, all the, improvements in the areas of the brain, the improvements in the parts of your life. And it was finally through building Muse and using it to learn about my own mind that I was able to learn to quiet it and then access all of the benefits of meditation.
That's great. So let's dig a little bit deeper into that. What are the benefits of meditation? I know there's a lot of research, but from your point of view, what are the benefits that you can experience, and what is sort of the time frame in which you can start to see these changes?
So there's now over 1,000 published research studies talking about the various benefits of meditation, from helping to manage stress, to improving your concentration, improving your productivity, improving your emotional reactivity, improving your ability to be in the present moment, improving your relationship with your body and your overall health, and also improving your ability to focus, achieve your dreams, and get rid of those negative thoughts that hold you back. So, meditation has like the potential for a gamut of benefits. Not all of those benefits you get the first time you sit down. Meditation is a practice and a thing that you have to do regularly, just like going to the gym, in order to see the benefits that it can have in your life. As you begin a meditation practice, some of the things that people often say they notice first is just the fact that they have a mind that has a lot of thoughts in it, and often those thoughts are not that useful. Most of us just kind of go through our life on autopilot with our thoughts thinking us, and we have a bunch of negative, repetitive thoughts, and we just assume they're supposed to be there, and we don't know what else to do about it. So, with meditation, what you learn to do is to take your mind off those negative thoughts and put them onto something neutral, like your breath. And then for the first time, you start to recognize, oh, I don't need to be thinking those things. Oh, I can choose what I'm thinking. I can choose where my mind and where my attention goes. And so you learn this incredibly powerful skill of redirecting your attention and redirecting your thought to the thing that matters to you.
That's great. And how does that manifest in your life? As I said, there are a lot of entrepreneurs, there are a lot of professionals, ambitious people. They're hustling, they're trying to, achieve their goals. But sometimes, when I talk to them about meditation, they exactly come up with the same excuses. They don't have time. They cannot quieten their mind. So what is the ultimate benefit people can expect to get out of this practice?
So there's no one ultimate benefit. It's a journey, and there are a lot of benefits that you gain along the way. In terms of an entrepreneurial context, we can talk about the benefits from that lens.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, you First of all, it seems like everything's always on fire. There's a ton of emergencies around you. You're always needed. You're pulled in a million places, and you have to drive forward as quickly as you can and achieve. And meditation has the opportunity to have tremendous benefit within that process. So meditation teaches you how to become more efficient, because it teaches you how to acknowledge and let go of the distractions in your life. So we have thoughts that are distracting. We have projects that are distracting. We have people that are distracting. We have, technology that's distracting. So meditation teaches you to be a connoisseur of the things that are important to you and the things that are distracting, and teaches you a very simple paradigm that you use to let go of those distractions and to come back to the thing in front of you that you care about and you're focused on. So it teaches you both how to manage the mental part of that, how to deal with the thoughts that are there and let go of those thoughts and come back to the focus, and to deal with the emotions, because being an entrepreneur is incredibly emotional. And frankly, when you're emotional, you can make some really bad decisions that are not based on the rational facts in front of you. Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, it can be like we're in the highs of like, yes, I'm succeeding. I just closed a big round. Yeah, somebody just signed a deal, to, oh my God, I lost that deal. I lost 3 deals. This key person is quitting. Everything's going to be awful. I don't know what to do. I feel terrible. And so meditation teaches you to manage the emotions around that and to experience the emotions in your body not as a roller coaster that takes you and throws you, but a sensation that can just rise and fall, so that you're able to rise above an emotional situation, to see the emotions in it simply as, part of the experience, to not create stories around those emotions. Because most of us, feel the sense of like, our key employee is leaving. And then you have all of these thoughts that follow. How am I going to tell the board? How am I going to find somebody else? These projects are going to fall apart. I'm going to get in trouble, and, which then make you feel worse about it, which then give you worse thoughts. And so there's this, spiraling downward cycle between the sensations and feelings in your body and thoughts in your head. So in meditation, what we learn is to, rather than make connections between your thoughts and feelings, to actually simply experience sensation in your body as sensation. I've got some feelings. This person's leaving. I feel that. And then you don't have to make stories about it. And then it doesn't ramp the feelings. And then you can simply see the clear landscape of the situation and make the best decision, rather than being caught in the downward spiral of, frustration and anxiety.
That's great. That's great. Now let's dig a little bit deeper into the science. You have a background in neuroscience and psychotherapy. So, can you tell us a little bit about what is the science behind it? Like, how does this all happen in terms of when you meditate? Something changes in your mind or in your physiological structure. Like, what is happening there?
Sure. So meditation is a practice that you do, but it's also an experience that happens in your brain. And I'm happy to dive a little bit into the neuroscience behind meditation. Yeah. So I described the focused attention on, or I'm going to describe a focused attention on the breath practice, which is sort of the basic practice that you do in meditation, where you focus your attention on your breath. Your mind wanders. You then notice that your mind has wandered. You choose to let go of your wandering thoughts and instead come back to your breath. So it's this very simple paradigm. And as you're doing that, part of what's happening is you're activating your prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex is the attentional control center of your brain. It's the thing that allows us to organize, to plan. It's the thing that makes us a higher order mammal. Other mammals do not necessarily have a prefrontal cortex. It's the thing that separates us from rats and mice. And it's the thing that allows us to make rational judgments and decisions. So in the work of Dr. Sarah Lazar at Harvard, she looked at long-term meditators and was able to see that long-term meditators actually could have a thicker prefrontal cortex than non-meditators. So the act of meditating actually strengthens your prefrontal cortex. It also can shift the relationship between your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. So your amygdala is the fight or flight center of your brain. It's the thing that's always scanning for danger and freaking out and causing you to have anxiety when stuff seems scary. And it's the thing that really also gets in the way of rational decision making. It's the thing that's saying like, there's a fire over there. Oh no, that person's leaving. It's awful. And in meditation, what happens is your prefrontal cortex actually is able to more effectively regulate your amygdala. So it's kind of like the amygdala is the little child who's having a temper tantrum, and the prefrontal cortex is the parent who is able to step in and say, it's okay, we see clearly and rationally, we know what's going on, you can calm down now. And in a long-term meditation practice, you can actually be strengthening the neural connections between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, so that the prefrontal cortex can now step in more effectively and down-regulate, and allow you to have more rational thought and action.
Cool, cool. That's great. And now, one of the questions, I've been fascinated. My background, as you can tell from my accent, is from India, and that the meditation has deep roots in India. When I was growing up, obviously, as a young person, I didn't really pay attention, and it's paradoxical when I came over to the West and sort of getting into kind of stressful situations, and it was affecting my professional personal life. I actually started meditating and felt the benefits of that. Whatever you describe, I completely resonate with me because I felt it in my own life. So what is the reason why apps like Headspace and Calm and Muse, they are coming up now, whereas meditation has been around for thousands of years? Like, do you see any trigger point, anything that's shifting in our collective subconscious where meditation is becoming more popular now?
Yeah, so I've really watched this experience. So when we began creating this tool in around 2011, um, we would go into VC meetings and they'd say, "What's the killer app for this technology?" And we actually didn't even want to call it a meditation tool at that point. We're like, "It's a cognitive trainer. It's going to make your brain strong." And we have like little icons of brains with big muscles on them. And sometimes somebody would say, like, "Is this like meditation?" And we'd say, "Do you like meditation?" And they'd say, "Yes." And we say, "Shh, it's meditation, but don't tell anyone."
I see.
And we started to go to the very early conferences in San Francisco where some tech investors were showing up, the Wisdom 2.0, and that was the meeting between technology and investment and wisdom practices. And it was around 2013, 2014 that meditation ended up on the cover of Time magazine. So, we're beginning to see the essential groundswell of big CEOs starting to come out and say that they meditated, athletes starting to talk about meditation, whereas other athletes still were like, that's weird. Yeah, I mean, celebrities meditating. And then it was almost like just around the 2013-14 time point when it was on the cover of Time magazine that it all of a sudden kind of gained this critical mass of social acceptance where people were willing to talk about it and willing to admit that they were meditators, and more people were getting on board. And that was the moment when, science turned around and said, actually, as of this date, there are 1,000 published studies, and it began to get the credibility and viability. And
Right.
now, everywhere you turn, it looks like everybody's meditating. And, meditation is now a badge of honor that, you have to be a successful CEO. You are somebody who meditates, or at least says that you meditate.
Yeah, yeah,
because it is now like eating well, like going to the gym. It is the thing that you do.
yeah. So it's basically what you're saying. It was just a social stigma. People just didn't want to be um, seen as like a sort of a new age hippie kind of thing. Is it?
Yeah, people didn't want to be perceived as woo-woo. And then
Yeah.
when there was both the scientific validation that came to the forefront, as well as the social credibility of, big CEOs and people who clearly were not woo-woo doing it, all of a sudden, the stigma cracked, and everybody could see that actually this is it may be a spiritual activity, but it is also something that can simply be a secular activity that provides significant benefit. And I think at the same time, we also saw the mental health stigma starting to crumble, and people talking
Yeah.
about the fact that we need to do things for our mental wellness as well as our physical wellness.
Great. Okay. So now let's dive into your product and see how it works, how it helps, and like as much as you can share. I'm really really interested in understanding how this device can help us meditate better, or even learn meditation if somebody's just starting off.
Sure. So Muse, the brain sensing headband, is an amazing tool that helps you meditate. It tracks your brain activity during meditation, and it gives you real time feedback to know what's going on in your mind. So most people, when they sit down to meditate for the first time, you sit there, your brain bounces all over the place, and you're like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, what's going on in the black box of my mind? Am I doing this right? And there's nobody sitting in your brain to tell you. And so we recognized that with Muse, we could really solve that problem. So with Muse, we track your brain activity and give you real time feedback to let you know when your mind has wandered and to bring you back to the state of focused meditative attention. The metaphor we use is your mind is like the weather. So when you're thinking, when your brain's bouncing all over the place, you're actually hearing it as stormy. You're hearing the sound of your own mind. And that becomes the cue to let you know to guide yourself back to quiet, focused attention. And when you get there, it quiets the storm. So it's this really simple audio feedback that lets you know when your mind is at, what it's doing, and guides you to what you're supposed to do. So you get real time feedback during the experience. And then after your meditation, you see scores, graphs, charts that show you what your brain was doing moment by moment. And there's a motivational architecture that keeps you engaged. So you can actually see how you progress, how each meditation is getting better than the next. And that becomes an incredibly motivating way to keep yourself moving forward.
Awesome. That's great. And here, one question I have, because when I was trying to learn meditation, I tried the usual apps, Calm and Headspace. They helped me get started, but one of the things I noticed was that as soon as I'm getting a little bit more into more concentrated state, uh, you know, some sound came up, and it sort of actually did the reverse of what it was supposed to do, which was to sort of deviate me from that concentrated state of mind. So how do you like address that? Like if there's a constant feedback, how do you make sure that it's not actually being counterproductive and actually trying to focus your mind?
So, very quickly, you actually begin to hear the sound as your own mind. So, it's not like, oh, there was a sound that came in that distracted me. If there was a sound that came in and distracted you, it's because you had a thought that created the sound. You're
I
literally
see.
hearing your own mind. And
I see.
so, you're as a meditator, what you learn to do is notice when you have a thought and then let go of that thought and return to that state of concentration. So
I
it's
see.
not that there's a bunch of distracting sounds. This is actually a reflection of your own mind, which you then learn to work with. Because as a
Okay.
meditator, what we need to do is learn to work with the thoughts that we have, let them go. Learn to work with the sounds around us, let them go. And after every distraction or disturbance, bring yourselves back to the focused attention.
Got it. And
And actually, I should also clarify. So we have the real time feedback. We also have, just like Headspace and Calm, meditations, but we have hundreds of meditations from dozens of top teachers. So you're not just like stuck with one guy whose voice you may or may not like.
yeah. So that's another question. I frequently get that when I talk about meditation with people. What kind of meditation is good for me? Like there are so many ways, so many methods. What should I pick? Like how do I go about picking the right teacher, right kind of meditation, right kind of focus area that I am struggling with in my life? So any guidance on that?
Sure. So with Muse, what we use is a focused attention on the breath exercise, and that's often the first meditation that most people learn. It's a simple concentration meditation. You focus your attention on your breath, your mind wanders, you notice, and you return. And this builds the skill of mindfulness, which is the skill that you then use in your daily life. And it builds your ability to let go of your negative wandering thoughts and to learn to manage your body. We also give you additional meditation exercises if in Muse 2 for your heart, your breath, and your body. So you can do heart meditations where you hear the beating of your heart like the beating of a drum, and you actually learn to tune into your own heartbeat and tune your interoception. You learn
Mhm.
breathing exercises so that you can actually learn to calm yourself down and calm your physiology with different breathing patterns. There's a movement sensor, so you can learn to find the right posture for you and learn to find stillness in your practice. And then in the guided meditations, there's literally hundreds of meditations. So there's meditations to help you fall asleep, meditations when you're stuck on the bus, meditations for relationships, inspirational meditations to find morning joy. So you can really find the teacher and the style that works for you and then continue along that line of practice.
Cool. And again, being a devil's advocate, what do you say to people that may have this question that meditation has been around for thousands of years. People learned it without any technology. So, what is the benefit of this versus just doing learning meditation in a traditional sense?
So you can totally learn meditation on your own, and it's free and it's easy to do. And I super recommend everybody meditate, regardless of how you start the practice, whether it's with Muse or with not. What we have found with Muse is it makes starting that practice much easier. If you don't have the benefit of a learned teacher that you can meet with, once a week or every few days to like really in person teach you what to do, Muse helps you solve the problem of what am I supposed to be doing and am I doing it right?
Okay.
So I'm now at the point where I have met meditation teachers who became teachers because they started meditating, learning, using Muse.
Awesome, that's great. And do you think, again, with technology, there's always this fear of addiction and technology becoming a crutch. So, like, in your experience, like, yeah, do you think people have to stick with it for the entire life, or is it like sort of just a first step and then they can meditate on their own?
People use it in lots of different ways. So some people, use it for a month and then they're like, okay, now I get how to meditate. And then,
Mm.
their husband or their wife or their teenage kid steals it. And then all of a sudden somebody else in the house is meditating with Muse and they're meditating on their own.
Right.
Other people go back to it periodically to keep going in the zone. Some people do a 5-minute muse, like after they've built their practice, they'll then do a 5-minute muse meditation because that will drop them into a state that then lets them do a half an hour or 1 hour meditation without muse in a even more deep state. So there's lots of different ways that you can now use the tool flexibly as works for you to enable your practice.
Awesome. And I'm very interested in learning about this. Like, what is your company culture like? Like, do you have employees who meditate? Like, you have, tell me, because meditation is something that I am passionate about and I think it brings tremendous benefits. And since you're a company focused on that, I'm wondering, like, I want to know, what is your company culture like? Is meditation a part of your company culture?
Meditation is definitely a part of the company culture. So some people come to us having never meditated before, and some people come to us as meditation enthusiasts, and that's why they find us. And we have about 70 employees across 3 offices, Toronto, Denver, and a satellite office in Ireland. So meditation ultimately becomes a practice that you do once you start being at Muse. And we have our Tuesday all team meetings where we update everybody transparently on what's going on with the company. We highlight projects that different teams are doing, and we bring in actually guest meditation teacher every single Tuesday morning. Sometimes it'll be one of the senior staff that leads a meditation, and sometimes a guest. And so everybody guaranteed will have a 15-minute meditation Tuesday mornings, but we often also start our meetings with a simple drop-in. So we might all together, whoever's in the meeting, close your eyes for 1 minute, drop in, focus on your breath, and that brings everybody in the room on the same page. It allows you to let go of whatever you're working on 2 minutes ago and just be present with the team and everybody kind of willing to set the intention to work together during that time. And it makes meetings really efficient and the communication and the sort of honesty in them much more effective.
Awesome, that's great. So, like, do you have any data? When, like, I'm not sure, like, whether this was a practice that you adopted, like, on day one. But I'm wondering, like, do you have any data on before and after, like, before people started meditating and practicing, the things that you just said in meetings and all that, and after, like, I'm trying to extract some tangible proof of the benefits of this practice in a collective team structure.
Sure. So we have not documented the before and after of our team, but there are actually 200 published studies using Muse now. And so that's totally amazing. So some of the things that have been seen in those studies, there's one study by the Catholic University of Milan, and they used Muse in a corporate setting, and they were able to show improvements in team dynamics, improvements in productivity, improvements in relationship after using Muse. So they actually, studied it in a university context within a company in Italy. There's another study using Muse with students, and there they were able to see that using Muse improved cognitive function in the Stroop task and Go No Go task, had decrease in stress, and also other like quality of life improvements. There was a very recent study from the Mayo Clinic, and they used Muse with breast cancer patients awaiting surgery. They used them for 2 weeks prior to surgery and as long as they wanted post-surgery, and they were able to see improvements in quality of life, decrease in stress, and decrease in fatigue in the cancer care process. So, there's lots of documented, published benefit of the benefits of meditating.
Great. And one question I have 2 young children, 8 and 10. What is the sort of the minimum age where we can introduce kids to this practice? And is there any, like, danger, harm in going too early in terms of introducing them to meditation?
So you can introduce kids to meditation at any age. I have a 3-year-old, so I've been, doing the slightly unwieldy task of teaching a very, very young child to meditate. And we started initially just with breathing. And so, whenever he would want something really badly, I would just say, breathe. We're going to do 3 deep breaths. If he really wanted a tablet, 3 deep breaths, and then you can do it. And that taught him that breathing can self-regulate. And so then I asked him to reflect afterwards. How do you feel? Do you feel calmer? And he will invariably say yes. And so now we introduce that deep breath practice anytime he's feeling dysregulated, and we count with it. So it's like, let's count to 10 with breathing. And I will breathe loudly, like, and he will, with his cutest little voice, like also like the cutest little loud breaths. And then, so he's learning to focus on his breathing, to count, which is like a basic meditation practice, counting your breaths, and then to have self-reflection. How do you feel after that? Does that create a change in your mind and your body? And his answer is yes. So you can start from a very young age. And you can really teach meditation at any age. We have a set of meditations in our meditation studio app called Good Night Kiddo that are specifically to help young kids fall asleep with meditation.
Great. And so, I think I'm kind of jealous because your 3-year-old has an advantage that he has a mom who's a professional and who's really into this practice. But some of us, for us, the train has left the station. Like, our kids are hyperactive and they're lots of energy. So, do you think that Muse can be introduced to the kids and sort of help them get trained at what age? Any age, will you say?
So we have a lot of people who've used Muse with their kids, including like the psychotherapists and psychiatrists that use Muse in their practice. I know one would use his Muse with a child when he was very, very young. Ever since GDPR, the European strict data standard, we've actually said that we won't let anybody under 16 use the Muse itself, just for data reasons. We're just GDPR compliant, so that means that we don't let somebody under 16 log into anything. There's would be no harm to it, but we just want to be like compliant to the highest standard possible from a privacy perspective. So no kids, but kids 16 and up love using it. The gamification makes it really easy for them to get into the game of meditation, and then it becomes very reinforcing.
Great. And one question I want to make sure that I ask. So one device can be used by multiple people?
Yep. So a single device can then be used by multiple people in a family or in a clinical setting or in an office.
That's great. All right. So this has been a very interesting, very fascinating educational interview. Thank you so much for coming on to the show and talking about meditation and your product. Now, before I let you go, can you tell us how people can reach out to you?
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at Ariel's Musings, Twitter, Ariel.Garten, LinkedIn, Ariel Garten, and the website is choosemuse.com.
Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. My sincere pleasure.
And that's all for now. Until next time. Now, if you're an entrepreneur or a career professional, then I invite you to join our growing community. Navigate to bootstrapping.group. As a welcome bonus, you will get the Startup Founders Technology Accelerator video series and Mastering Your Inner Game video series absolutely free. This series of short videos address some core issues which are instrumental in helping you move forward in your business or career. The videos are yours to view and share for free. No obligations or strings attached, except for one. You have to take action and implement it. So join us today. Navigate to bootstrapping.group. If you want more engaging videos and insightful interviews with industry's thought leaders, then check out the other videos we have picked for you. The link is right there. And if you want to be notified about our new content, please do consider subscribing to our channel.